Dr. Aaron Cade had always been drawn to the unknown. Even as a child, he would spend hours staring at maps of distant worlds, imagining what secrets lay hidden among the stars. Now, standing at the edge of a newly discovered planet's barren plains, he felt the familiar thrill of curiosity mixed with a touch of unease. The planet, named Valora Prime, had been barely touched by humanity. Its surface was jagged, filled with dark rock formations that glinted like black glass in the light of its twin suns. Strange energy readings had drawn the research team to this remote place, but Aaron's instincts told him that there was something more waiting beneath the surface. The research station was modest, built from lightweight metal and reinforced glass, designed to withstand Valora Prime's harsh winds and unpredictable storms. Inside, a small team of scientists monitored energy fluctuations that seemed to pulse from beneath the planet. Aaron often found himself wandering alone in the field, following subtle hints that others might dismiss. Today was one of those days. While his colleagues ran calculations and logged sensor readings, Aaron had wandered far from the base, following a narrow canyon that disappeared into a shadowed cliff face. The canyon walls were covered in strange markings, grooves that looked almost deliberate, etched into the rock by forces he could not immediately understand. Aaron ran his fingers along one groove, noting the precise angles and curves. This was not natural erosion. Someone, or something, had carved this, long before humans had ever arrived on Valora Prime. The excitement thrummed in his chest as he continued deeper into the canyon, each step crunching over sharp stones and shifting dust. Shadows stretched oddly in the fading light, and for a moment he felt the peculiar sensation of being watched. The hairs on his neck stood up, but he pushed on, telling himself it was just his imagination. After what felt like hours, Aaron stumbled upon a metallic surface embedded in the canyon wall. It was a door, unlike any he had seen before. Its metal was dark but reflected light in rippling patterns, almost like liquid. The door was enormous, easily towering twice his height, and its surface was engraved with strange symbols that pulsed faintly with an energy that seemed almost alive. The lines glowed softly, shifting as if they were observing him. Aaron's heart raced. He had uncovered something extraordinary, something that belonged to an age long forgotten, predating any known civilization in the galaxy. "Aaron, are you still out there?" came a voice through his comm link. It was Dr. Celine Maris, the team's lead physicist. "We've been tracking your position. You're way off the mapped area. Come back." "I've found something," Aaron replied, barely able to contain his excitement. "You need to see this. It's a door or something like it. And the symbols, Celine. They're alive." There was a pause. "Alive?" "Aaron, stay put. Don't touch anything until we get a look. You don't know what this could be." Aaron smiled faintly. That was the problem. Curiosity rarely waited for instructions. He knelt before the door, studying the glowing symbols. His fingers hovered over the surface, almost afraid to make contact. Slowly, almost reverently, he placed his hand on one of the lines. The symbol pulsed stronger, warm and vibrant under his touch. A soft hum filled the canyon, resonating deep within his chest. It was as if the door recognized him. The other members of the team had arrived now, their figures casting long shadows in the canyon. Dr. Celine and two others, Mara and Kellen, approached cautiously, eyes wide with awe and caution. "It's enormous," Mara whispered. "It's not human." Kellen crouched, scanning the ground for any traps or energy fluctuations. "The readings are off the charts. Whatever this is, it's ancient, maybe billions of years old." Aaron nodded. "Exactly, and I think it's been waiting." "Waiting for what?" Selena asked. Aaron didn't answer. He could feel it, a subtle presence, almost like a heartbeat behind the metal. The air itself seemed to thrum with anticipation. Then, almost instinctively, he pressed his palm against a larger symbol near the center. The symbol glowed brightly, sending a wave of light along the surface of the door. The hum grew louder, vibrating through their bones. A low rumble echoed from deep within the canyon, making the team stumble. The ground trembled and small rocks slid down the walls. The hum became a resonance that filled their minds, a sound that was more felt than heard. And then, slowly, impossibly, the door began to move. It slid open with a sound that was both metallic and fluid, revealing a space beyond that seemed impossibly vast. The light spilling from the opening was not from their suns. It was soft, glowing, and alive. It illuminated structures that defied logic, towers that arched in impossible angles, floating platforms hovering silently, and symbols etched into the walls that pulsed as if breathing. The team froze. None of them had expected this. The canyon had hidden an entire world, ancient and magnificent, waiting untouched for eons. Aaron stepped forward, drawn by a mixture of fear and exhilaration. "Do you see it? It's incredible." Celine shook her head, her voice trembling slightly. "It's more than incredible. It's alive." Mara and Kellen followed, their eyes wide, moving slowly as if stepping into a dream. Every detail was breathtaking. Patterns in the walls shifted in response to their presence, almost like the city was observing them. Tiny lights flickered along the pathways, moving in deliberate ways, guiding them deeper into the hidden world. As they advanced, the presence Aaron had felt before became stronger. He could no longer deny it. This was not just a city, it was intelligent, patient, immense, and aware. Every sound, every shimmer of light seemed to carry intention. And then, in the distance, something moved. It was enormous, a figure silhouetted against the glowing architecture. Its shape was hard to define, vast and indistinct, yet undeniably deliberate. It did not rush or threaten, it simply observed, as if trying to understand who had dared to awaken this place. Aaron swallowed hard. "It knows we're here." Kellen stepped closer to Aaron, his voice low. "Or it's waiting to see what we'll do next." The team continued, cautiously exploring the first chamber. Despite the awe and fear, Aaron's mind raced. The symbols, the energy, the vastness of this hidden world, it was a message. Someone or something had built this place to endure, to teach, to test. But why? And for whom? Every surface they touched responded. The city's pulse seemed to synchronize with their movements. When Mara brushed her hand against a floating panel, it tilted, revealing what looked like a map of stars, galaxies, nebulae, and constellations that no human had recorded. They were looking at knowledge that spanned the universe. Celine turned to Aaron, awe and concern mixing in her expression. "Do you realize what we've just found? This could change everything we know about intelligent life. Everything." Aaron nodded, but he felt a pang of unease. "Yes, but it's not just a discovery, it's a doorway. And I think we've just triggered something." A faint vibration ran through the ground. The distant figure shifted slightly, almost imperceptibly, but it was enough to send a chill down their spines. The presence in the shadows was no longer passive. It was aware, reacting to their intrusion. Yet it did not move toward them in anger. It simply watched. Hours passed as they explored, documenting symbols, taking readings, and marveling at the impossible structures. Yet all the while, that subtle, immense awareness lingered at the edge of their perception. Aaron felt its patience, its intelligence, and a strange curiosity that mirrored their own. He realized then that opening the door had not been a simple act. It had been a signal, a communication across time. Something ancient had noticed them, and now the first interaction between humanity and this hidden civilization was beginning. As the twin suns began to set, casting long shadows across the glowing city, Aaron finally stepped back, looking at the door behind them. It stood open. But for how long? He didn't know. He only knew that humanity had crossed a threshold, one that could not be undone. The air thrummed with possibility, danger, and promise. The ancient presence waited, silent but unmistakable, as if the very city itself was holding its breath. Aaron turned to his team. "We need to be careful. This place, it's alive, and it knows us now." Celine nodded, her eyes reflecting both fear and excitement. "We'll study it, but we must respect it. Whatever this is, it's older than anything we've ever known, and it's not meant to be controlled." Kellen sighed, half in wonder, half in nervousness. "You opened the door, Aaron. But I think something just opened theirs too." And in that moment, standing in the heart of a city older than humanity itself, Aaron understood the truth. Curiosity had led them here. And now, the universe had begun to respond. The ancient watchers stirred, unseen yet aware, as if marking the beginning of a relationship that might one day define the fate of humanity. The canyon outside remained quiet, but the city beyond hummed with life, awaiting the next move, the next choice, the first steps of a species ready to be tested. Aaron swallowed hard, a mixture of awe and determination filling him. Humanity had opened a door, and something ancient had opened theirs. The team had stepped through the doorway into a world that seemed impossible. Even with the excitement pulsing in their veins, a quiet caution had settled over them. Every step forward made the city respond. The glowing paths beneath their feet shimmered and shifted, guiding them deeper, almost as if the place itself was alive and aware of their presence. Aaron could feel it with every nerve, a massive intelligence, patient and observant, waiting to see what humanity would do next. The structures around them were breathtaking. Towers twisted in ways that defied gravity, hovering platforms floated mid-air, and strange symbols etched into walls and columns pulsed rhythmically. Tiny lights darted across the pathways like living creatures, illuminating things that should not have been visible. When Mara touched one of the walls, the symbol she pressed shimmered and expanded, revealing a holographic map of nearby star systems. The stars twinkled in patterns that made sense, yet were completely alien, as if the city itself was showing them not just a map, but knowledge accumulated over millennia. "This is unbelievable," Mara whispered, her voice echoing softly in the cavernous space. "I've studied alien architecture, but nothing comes close to this. The geometry, the technology, it's beyond anything humans have ever imagined." Celine nodded, scanning the surroundings. "And the energy readings are enormous. Whatever powers this place is unlike anything we've seen. It's stable, controlled, yet vast. This civilization must have understood the universe in ways we can't even begin to imagine." Aaron walked slowly, letting his fingers brush against the surfaces. Each touch was met with a reaction, a pulse of light, a soft vibration. "It's not just architecture," he said. "It's alive. The city, it's responding to us. And I think it's intelligent. It's watching, learning, judging." Kellen, usually the skeptic of the group, was unusually quiet. He crouched to inspect one of the glowing symbols on the floor. "I don't like this," he said finally. "It's as if we're being tested. Every movement we make, every step we take, it's observing us. I've worked with alien tech before, but nothing has felt this aware. It's like walking into a giant mind that's bigger than ours." The team moved cautiously, guided by the glowing pathways that seemed to lead somewhere central. The air here was thick, but not in a suffocating way. It was as if the city itself was breathable, alive with a subtle energy that resonated through their bodies. Aaron could feel it in his chest, a low vibration that pulsed in time with his heartbeat. The sense of being observed intensified, but it was not threatening. The ancient presence was deliberate, measured, patient. As they moved further in, the structures became even more extraordinary. Floating bridges stretched between towers, adorned with glowing symbols that shifted in response to their approach. Holographic images flickered in mid-air, showing strange landscapes and creatures that had long vanished from the universe. Some images were so detailed, they seemed almost real, like glimpses of a time before time. Aaron could not stop staring. He reached out to touch one of the floating images of a distant world, and the hologram rippled as though acknowledging his touch. "What do you think they were trying to teach us?" Celine asked quietly. "Were these images meant to tell a story, or something else?" Aaron paused, considering her words. "I think it's both. They left this place to survive. But it's not just survival. They wanted to communicate. Whoever or whatever built this city knew that intelligent life would one day arrive, and they wanted to see if it was ready." A sudden shift in the pathways caught their attention. The floating platforms above them rotated slightly, aligning into a new configuration that formed a straight corridor leading to an enormous structure in the distance. Its size was difficult to comprehend. It rose like a mountain, but the surface shimmered like liquid metal, reflecting light in impossible ways. Symbols covered every inch, pulsing softly as if inviting them forward. "This has to be the center," Mara said, her voice trembling with excitement. "Whatever controls this city, it's inside that structure." Aaron led the way cautiously, feeling the vibrations underfoot intensify as they approached. The air was charged, alive with energy. Every step brought a new sensation. Walls shifted subtly, lights danced in complex patterns, and the shadows moved in ways that made it feel as though the city itself was breathing. Kellen's voice broke the silence. "Do you feel that? It's like something is moving in the shadows. I can't see it, but I can feel it." Aaron nodded. "I know. They're observing us. I can sense it, but it's not hostile. Not yet. They're curious." When they reached the base of the central structure, the city's response intensified. Lights along the ground formed a series of symbols beneath their feet, pulsing in rhythm with the vibrations that now coursed through their bodies. Aaron bent down, tracing the symbols with his fingers. The moment he did, the structure above seemed to shimmer and open slightly, revealing a glowing chamber within. A soft hum filled the space, harmonizing with their movements. The chamber inside was vast, more immense than anything Aaron had ever seen. Its ceiling stretched out of sight, walls curving in impossible arcs. A soft, radiant light bathed everything in a serene glow. In the center, a platform hovered, displaying a three-dimensional projection of the surrounding galaxy. Stars, nebulae, and cosmic structures moved in slow, deliberate patterns. Aaron approached the projection, reaching out to touch a cluster of stars. They pulsed in response, sending waves of energy that made his chest thrum with exhilaration. "This is a map," Aaron whispered. "Not just of this galaxy, of the universe. They've cataloged it all. Whoever built this, they were explorers, observers, maybe even guardians." Mara studied the projections carefully. "It's like they wanted someone to find this. And when we did, they reacted. See how the lights and platforms are moving? They're adjusting to us. It's like the city is alive, and it's trying to communicate." As the team examined the chamber, the subtle presence they had felt since entering the city became stronger. The shadows shifted, no longer distant. They felt immense, intelligent, deliberate. Aaron's chest tightened as a strange awareness filled his mind, not with words, but with emotions and images. He saw flashes of other worlds, of civilizations rising and falling, of beings who had come and gone long before humanity existed. The ancient presence was showing him the history of the universe, not as text or language, but as raw experience. "It's testing us," Aaron said finally, his voice low. "I don't think it's just watching. I think it wants to see if we're ready." Celine frowned. "Ready for what?" "I don't know," Aaron admitted. "But I think it's about understanding, about choices. They left this city not as a trap, but as a message. And every movement we make, every decision we take, it matters." A subtle vibration ran through the floor again, stronger this time. The light in the chamber pulsed, and a figure began to take shape in the shadows beyond the platform. It was enormous, its form shifting and indistinct, like liquid metal in motion. It did not move toward them but observed, with an intelligence that seemed to pierce their very thoughts. Aaron felt both fear and awe, realizing that humanity was facing something far greater than any threat, a consciousness older than their species, capable of seeing and understanding in ways they could not. "We're not alone in this," Kellen said quietly. "Not alone, and not insignificant." The projection in the center of the chamber shifted again. Stars moved, revealing patterns that Aaron instinctively understood. The city was showing them connections between energy, life, and intelligence. It was teaching them to see the universe not just as humans had seen it, but in a broader, more connected way. Aaron reached out, touching a small glowing orb that hovered above the projection. As he did, the city responded, pulsing with energy, the vibrations becoming a gentle resonance that filled their bodies. It was not overwhelming. It was as if the city was communicating directly with them, not through words, but through understanding. "This is incredible," Mara said softly. "I can feel it. It's like the city knows we're here. Like it's judging us." "Not judging," Aaron corrected, feeling the subtle current of awareness in the air. "Observing, testing, trying to understand. They want to know if we're ready." The realization weighed heavily on the team. This was more than exploration. It was the first encounter between humanity and something truly ancient, something that had survived eons to witness intelligent life. Every choice they made, every movement, every thought mattered, and yet it was not hostile. The city's presence was patient, deliberate, and strangely hopeful. Hours passed as they explored the chamber, tracing the glowing symbols and interacting with the projections. Each step revealed new knowledge, and each moment deepened the connection they felt with the city. The sense of being observed never left, but it shifted from tension to understanding. The presence was not testing for fear or strength. It was testing for curiosity, intelligence, and the capacity to learn. Finally, as the twin suns outside Valora Prime began to dip below the horizon, casting long shadows across the glowing pathways, Aaron stepped back from the central platform. He looked at his team, their faces illuminated by the pulsing light. They were exhausted, exhilarated, and filled with awe. "This is just the beginning," Aaron said softly. "We've opened the door, yes, but something ancient has opened theirs, and they're waiting to see what we do next." The shadows in the chamber shifted once more, and the massive presence moved slightly, not threateningly but deliberately. The city pulsed as if acknowledging their awareness. Aaron felt a deep sense of connection, a silent understanding that humanity's curiosity had reached a threshold, and the universe had begun to respond. For the first time, he realized that exploration was more than discovery. It was dialogue. And in this hidden ancient city, humanity had taken its first step into a conversation older than time itself. The air in the city's central chamber seemed to hum with a quiet intensity. Aaron and his team had been exploring the city for what felt like hours, though without a reference point, they could not be sure. Time here was strange, elastic, almost indifferent to human measures. Every step brought new wonder and new mysteries. Symbols shifted, lights pulsed, and floating platforms hovered gracefully as though guiding them to some unseen destination. The sense of being observed had grown stronger. The ancient presence, vast and patient, was no longer just watching. They were beginning to communicate. Aaron studied the floating projection of the galaxy at the chamber's center. The stars shifted slightly, forming new constellations, almost like a pattern designed to draw their attention. "Look at this," he said, pointing at a cluster of stars that seemed to pulse in harmony with the city's energy. "It's more than a map. It's a message. They want us to see the connections. Something important." Mara leaned closer, tracing the shifting lights with her hand. "It's beautiful and overwhelming. I can't even begin to imagine how long it must have taken to catalog all of this. They weren't just scientists. They were visionaries, maybe even philosophers. They wanted to teach someone, and now we're here." Kellen, ever the skeptic, frowned. "Teach us what, though? It's impressive, yes, but what are we supposed to do? These machines, these structures, they aren't human. We might not be ready for this." Aaron shook his head. "I think that's the point. It's not just about what we can see or touch. It's about understanding, about learning to think in ways they did. This city, it's a test, and I think we just triggered the next part." As if in response to his words, the chamber pulsed with a wave of energy. The platforms shifted, forming a pathway deeper into the city. A soft vibration ran through the floor, and the lights along the walls pulsed rhythmically, almost like a heartbeat. The team exchanged nervous glances. Every instinct told them to move carefully, but curiosity was stronger than fear. They stepped onto the new pathway. It led them into a massive corridor lined with enormous pillars that glowed softly, each etched with symbols that shifted and changed as they passed. Aaron ran his fingers across one of the pillars. The symbols responded, expanding outward, forming intricate patterns that projected holographic images into the air. Scenes of distant worlds, civilizations rising and falling, and strange landscapes flickered before their eyes. "It's like history," Mara whispered. "A record of life, knowledge, and events. But it's not just information, it's experiences. I can almost feel what it's showing us." Celine nodded slowly. "It's overwhelming, yes, but I think there's a purpose. These images, these patterns, they're guiding us. Whoever built this city didn't just want to preserve knowledge. They wanted to pass it on to those who could understand it, to those capable of learning, not just seeing." As they moved further into the corridor, the subtle presence they had sensed since entering the city became stronger. Shadows shifted, forming shapes that were massive but indistinct. Aaron could feel a silent awareness pressing against his mind. It was not threatening, yet it demanded attention. He realized then that the city itself was alive, and it was beginning the first phase of its test. Observation. A soft hum filled the corridor, growing steadily in intensity. The floor beneath their feet vibrated slightly, and symbols along the walls pulsed in a sequence. Aaron stopped, realizing that the sequence was deliberate. He studied the symbols carefully, trying to understand the pattern. "It's a code," he said slowly. "They're showing us a puzzle, something we need to solve." "This is the first part of the trial." Mara leaned in, her eyes scanning the symbols. "A trial? You mean like a test? What are we being tested for?" Aaron didn't answer immediately. He could feel the presence watching him, almost expectantly. Slowly, he traced the sequence on one of the panels. The symbols responded, shifting and aligning into new patterns. The holographic images of the galaxy in the chamber ahead shifted as well, highlighting specific stars and points of interest. Celine gasped softly. They're guiding us to something. I don't know what, but it feels like a path, a lesson maybe. They want us to follow it carefully. As they progressed, the corridor opened into a vast chamber unlike anything they had seen before. The floor and walls were covered with intricate designs that pulsed with energy. And in the center floated a massive crystalline structure. It shimmered in colors that were impossible to describe, and symbols danced across its surface like living scripts. Aaron approached slowly, sensing that this was the heart of the trial. "This is it," he whispered. "The core. Whatever they want us to understand, it begins here." Kellen studied the crystal carefully. "It's incredible, yes, but how do we interact with it? Touching it might trigger something we're not ready for." Aaron reached out, and the moment his fingers brushed the surface, the chamber responded. A wave of energy swept through the space, and the projections around them shifted, forming new images. Stars rotated, galaxies moved, and in the center, a massive pattern began to form. It was complex, almost impossible to understand fully. But Aaron sensed the purpose. The crystal was showing them the interconnections of the universe: energy, life, intelligence, all linked in a delicate balance. "I think it's teaching us," Aaron said slowly. "Not just knowledge, but understanding. They want us to see how everything is connected, how choices matter, how life interacts with the universe." Mara nodded. "It's like a lesson in responsibility. If this city has lasted for millions of years, it's because the builders understood balance, care, and wisdom. They're testing us to see if we can understand it too." As they studied the patterns, the subtle presence in the chamber became more distinct. Massive, shadowed forms shifted along the edges, observing closely. Aaron could feel a connection forming, a silent communication not through words, but through resonance, images, and emotion. The ancient beings were assessing them, testing their reactions, their understanding, and their cooperation. Suddenly, the chamber shifted. Platforms rose and fell, and symbols along the walls reconfigured themselves. The crystal's light intensified, filling the room with a pulsing glow. Aaron instinctively stepped back, sensing that the trial had entered a new phase. "They're testing more than just understanding," he said. "They're testing our courage, our decisions, how we respond under pressure." Celine glanced at him, concern in her eyes. "Do you think we're ready?" Aaron nodded slowly. "We have to be, whatever comes next. It's not about fear. It's about learning, about showing that we can rise to the challenge, that we can understand, respect, and grow." The platforms shifted again, forming a path that led toward a massive doorway on the far side of the chamber. Light poured from beyond, and a low hum resonated through the crystal. The ancient presence seemed to pulse in anticipation. Aaron took a deep breath and stepped forward, motioning for the others to follow. As they entered the new space, the chamber responded to their movements. Lights shifted to guide them, symbols pulsed in rhythm with their steps, and the very air seemed charged with energy. The projections now displayed complex sequences of events, civilizations rising, falling, and interacting with one another. The lesson was clear. Intelligence alone was not enough. It was understanding, cooperation, and foresight that mattered most. Aaron paused, placing his hand on a glowing symbol. Instantly, the room reacted, and he felt a flood of images in his mind, distant worlds, alien species, and moments of profound choice. He understood that the city was showing them potential futures, both bright and dark, depending on the choices humanity would make. "They're showing us consequences," Aaron said softly. "Every action, every decision, every choice matters. This This is the real trial. Can we learn? Can we understand the impact of what we do? Mara shivered. It's overwhelming, but incredible. They're not just testing knowledge, they're testing wisdom. They want to see if we can think beyond ourselves. The chamber pulsed again, stronger this time, and the massive shadowed forms at the edges moved closer, observing. Aaron felt their awareness pressing into his mind, probing gently, assessing not just intellect but character, intent, and unity. Celine stepped forward, placing her hand next to Aaron's on the symbol. Together, they felt the resonance of the city flow through them. The projections shifted once more, now showing not just distant civilizations, but also their own team. Small figures in a vast universe, yet capable of change, capable of learning, capable of growth. Aaron looked at his team, determination in his eyes. We're part of this now, this trial. It's not about fear. It's about showing that humanity can rise to the challenge, that we can understand, respect, and learn from something far greater than ourselves. The crystal pulsed brighter, the symbols along the walls glowing in harmony. The ancient presence seemed to acknowledge their resolve. The chamber itself hummed with approval, not in sound, but in energy that resonated deeply within them. Aaron felt a surge of hope. Humanity had taken the first true steps toward understanding something far older, wiser, and more patient than they had ever imagined. Hours passed, or perhaps only moments, before the chamber finally quieted. The crystal's glow softened, and the projections slowed, as if allowing the team to absorb the lessons they had been shown. The platforms shifted into a stable configuration, and the symbols returned to a resting pattern, waiting for the next stage. Aaron exhaled, feeling the weight of what had occurred. "We've passed the first part," he said quietly. "The observation, the initial trial, they've acknowledged us. But this is only the beginning. The real challenge lies ahead." Kellen finally spoke, his voice filled with awe. "We've been tested, and we didn't even know it. But somehow, I think we've earned their trust, or at least their attention. That presence, it's massive, intelligent, and it's patient. They're watching, waiting to see what we do next." Mara smiled faintly. "And we're ready. We have to be. Curiosity brought us here, but now it's understanding that will carry us forward." Aaron looked around the chamber, taking in the glowing symbols, the floating platforms, and the massive crystal at the center. The ancient presence remained, patient and observant, marking the beginning of a journey that would challenge humanity in ways they could not yet comprehend. For the first time, Aaron understood that discovery was not enough. Knowledge was not enough. The city demanded more. It demanded growth, insight, and the courage to rise to the challenge. Humanity had opened the door, and now it was being tested by something far older, wiser, and more immense than themselves. And somewhere in the shadows, the ancient presence waited, knowing that the next steps would determine whether humanity could truly stand among the stars. The chamber was quiet now, yet it hummed with a gentle energy that pulsed in rhythm with the team's own hearts. Aaron and the others had spent what felt like endless hours exploring the crystal core of the city, absorbing knowledge, understanding the subtle messages woven into the patterns, and feeling the presence of the ancient beings that had waited for humanity to arrive. The first trials had tested their courage, curiosity, and intelligence. Now, the city seemed to invite them toward a final stage, a trial not of skill, not of knowledge, but of humanity itself. Aaron took a deep breath and stepped forward. The central crystal glowed softly, as if acknowledging his resolve. The massive, shadowed forms at the edges of the chamber shifted slightly, moving closer but without threat. Their presence was immense, vast, and patient. For the first time, Aaron felt a deep connection, not with the city or the crystal, but with the consciousness that watched, tested, and guided them. It was as if the city had become a bridge between humans and something far greater, and now they had to prove they were worthy of crossing it. "We've come this far," Aaron said quietly to his team. "Everything we've done, every observation, every choice, has led us here. This is the moment that matters. The city isn't asking for obedience or power. It's asking if we are ready to understand, to learn, to act with wisdom." Celine nodded, her eyes reflecting the soft glow of the crystal. "We've seen what it wants us to see. We've felt its presence. And now, we have to show it who we are, not just as scientists or explorers, but as humans." Kellen's usual skepticism had softened into awe. "We can't fail," he said simply. "Not because we're afraid, but because this is bigger than anything we've ever imagined. It's an opportunity to rise to something higher." Mara placed her hand next to Aaron's on the crystal. The city responded instantly. The light brightened, pulsing in harmony with their heartbeat. Symbols shifted across the walls, forming intricate patterns that seemed to convey not words, but understanding. Aaron felt a flood of images in his mind: distant stars, civilizations rising and falling, the balance of energy and life throughout the universe. And beneath it all, he sensed a question, the presence asking silently if humanity was ready to take its place in a larger cosmic story. Aaron spoke aloud, though the words were almost unnecessary. "We are ready. We may be small and young, but we have curiosity, courage, and the desire to learn. We may make mistakes, but we seek understanding. We will rise to meet the challenge of the universe, and we will respect the knowledge and life that surrounds us." The chamber responded with a wave of energy that seemed to resonate directly with their consciousness. The shadowed forms shifted closer, and Aaron felt their intelligence probing gently, assessing the truth of his words. There was no doubt, no hostility, only awareness and patience. The ancient beings were not testing for strength or fear. They were testing for character, for the ability to understand, for the willingness to act wisely. The holographic projections around the crystal shifted again. Now they displayed scenarios of countless possibilities, civilizations making choices that led to harmony, others falling into destruction, and yet others reaching heights of understanding. Aaron realized that the city was showing them not just the universe as it was, but the universe as it could be, depending on the decisions and actions of intelligent life. "It's showing us consequences," Mara whispered, awe in her voice. "Every action matters. Every decision ripples through the cosmos. That's why the builders left this, to teach us responsibility, to guide us to wisdom before we reach too far." Celine stepped forward and placed her hand beside Aaron and Mara. The crystal's light intensified, and the energy seemed to wrap around them, filling their minds with clarity and insight. Images of cooperation, compassion, and ingenuity flowed through them, showing the impact of unity and intelligence. The city was not simply offering knowledge, it was offering understanding, the ability to see the universe as an interconnected whole. Aaron felt a surge of hope and determination. Humanity had opened the door, yes, but this trial was different. It was not about survival, not about curiosity alone. It was about proving that they could think, feel, and act with wisdom, that they could learn, not just for themselves, but for the greater good of life and knowledge throughout the stars. The energy of the crystal pulsed stronger, and the massive shadowed forms shifted fully into view. Though still indistinct, they radiated intelligence and presence. Aaron could feel them reaching out, testing the sincerity of their thoughts, probing for the truth of their intentions. The team stood together, their hands on the crystal, their hearts open to the presence that watched them. "We are ready to learn," Aaron said again, more firmly. "We are ready to grow. We are ready to rise to the challenge you have set before us. We will act with curiosity, courage, and care, and we will use what we learn wisely for the betterment of all life we encounter." The crystal's glow reached a brilliance that filled the entire chamber, and for a moment, the team was enveloped in light. They felt themselves lifted, not physically, but in awareness. The presence of the ancient beings merged with their consciousness, sharing knowledge directly, allowing them to understand patterns, possibilities, and truths that had been hidden for millennia. The city itself seemed to hum in harmony with their hearts. Aaron's mind expanded, seeing connections between energy, life, and intelligence across the universe. He understood that every choice, every act of learning, every cooperative effort mattered. Humanity's potential was being measured not by their strength, but by their wisdom, empathy, and ability to rise above fear and ignorance. When the light finally dimmed, the team stood together, breathing heavily, hearts pounding with exhilaration. The projections around the crystal had settled, the symbols returned to their resting pattern, and the shadowed forms receded slightly. No longer probing, but observing with calm approval. "We did it," Mara said softly. "We passed the trial." Celine nodded, tears of awe in her eyes. "It's more than that. They've acknowledged us. They've recognized humanity as worthy of learning." Aaron looked around the chamber, feeling the weight of the moment. "This isn't just about discovery anymore. This is about responsibility. We've been shown what the universe can teach, what it can offer, and now it's our choice how we will use it." The central crystal shimmered once more, and a wave of energy spread throughout the chamber. Holographic images formed around them, showing technological knowledge, methods of energy manipulation, and interstellar navigation far beyond anything humanity had achieved. It was not a gift given lightly, it was an opportunity, a tool for growth and understanding reserved for those deemed capable of using it wisely. Aaron reached out to touch the crystal again, and a final message resonated directly in his mind. It was simple, yet profound. Curiosity brought you here. Wisdom will guide you forward. The universe watches, and life depends on understanding. The team absorbed the message in silence. Words were not enough to describe the emotions they felt. Awe, humility, hope, and a deep sense of purpose. Humanity had stepped across a threshold, opening a door not just to an ancient city, but to knowledge and understanding that could shape their future among the stars. As they prepared to leave the chamber, the city itself seemed to respond, guiding them back along the pathways they had taken, ensuring that they would exit safely while retaining the knowledge and experiences they had gained. The shadows and presence remained, patient and watchful, like guardians who had observed the rise of a species and seen promise in its potential. Outside the central chamber, the team paused to take in the city one last time. The towers, the floating platforms, and the glowing pathways stretched into the distance, silent yet alive. Aaron realized that humanity had not just discovered a city, they had discovered a relationship, a dialogue with a presence older than their species, wiser than their understanding, and patient enough to teach those willing to learn. "We've opened the door," Aaron said softly, "but they've opened theirs to us, and now it's up to humanity to rise to the challenge." The team returned to the canyon entrance, the metallic door now resting quietly as though nothing had happened. Yet the energy of the city lingered, faintly glowing through the stone and earth. Aaron glanced back, feeling a deep sense of gratitude and resolve. The ancient beings remained, watching and waiting, hopeful that humanity would live up to the potential they had glimpsed. As the twin suns dipped below the horizon of Valora Prime, casting long shadows across the barren plains, Aaron understood that this moment marked a new chapter. Humanity was no longer just a small species exploring the universe. They were part of a larger story, capable of understanding, learning, and rising to meet challenges that stretched across time and space. The canyon behind them was silent, but the city beyond hummed softly, alive with knowledge. Waiting patiently for the next steps of a species now aware of its potential. Aaron felt a thrill of determination. They had been tested, they had been seen, and they had passed. The door they had opened was only the beginning. Humanity's moment had arrived, and the stars themselves seemed to shine with possibility. For the first time, Aaron smiled fully, knowing that curiosity had opened the door, but wisdom, courage, and understanding would carry humanity forward into a future full of infinite wonder and responsibility. And somewhere, in the depths of the ancient city, the watchers remained patient and silent, knowing that the true journey had only just begun.